When I was a kid, I had this fantasy that it would be cool to have my own amusement park. Disneyland would be fine, but even if it was something on a little smaller scale, like something about the size of our yard, that'd probably be okay too, provided I could fit in a train ride, a carousel, and a Ferris wheel. Had to have those 3 rides, end of story, and then I would actually draw pictures of how I was going to make the whole thing work. I don't know if any of you guys ever had a fantasy like that, but I sort of suspect that some people did. At any rate, I just ran into a guy, Craig, and Craig has his own little amusement park. Has a grand total of 6 rides. One of them is a carousel, and one of them is a Ferris wheel. No train ride. He used to have a train ride, but he had to give it up because he couldn't figure out how to keep the train on the track. I would like to see him get another train just because, you know, everybody should have a train. I mean, come on.
Craig's little amusement park lives inside Salt Lake City's Liberty Park. Liberty Park was designed by Don Carlos Young, one of Brigham Young's sons, who'd been off to formal architecture school and had studied Central Park there. And he wanted to build his own version of Central Park. So he picked this land here. That's the Chase Mill, and this is the Chase Home. And before that, it had been part of Brigham Young's forest farm, so he sort of inherited a lot of it. Liberty Park was always a fun place. They had boats that you could rent out and take out on the lake and row around. I think people really enjoyed that. Later on in the 1950s and 60s, those rowboats were replaced by a paddle wheeler, and that was a good deal of fun, but it became a little bit too maintenance intensive and they got rid of it. But they always had sort of a midway with rides, and that was a lot of fun for people. They had a Ferris wheel and a merry-go-round, and at one time an octopus and a tilt-a-whirl. The heart of the deal was this carousel, a really ornate Herschel carousel. People really loved it. It was almost sort of a landmark around Salt Lake. Unfortunately, it caught fire and burned up in the 1960s, and they replaced it. They also had a Ferris wheel, an Eli Ferris wheel, and everybody enjoyed that, and it's still there. It's the only original ride still in the park. Craig and his manager, Mike, worked in the off-season between 2013 and 14 to rebuild the Ferris wheel. They also have this great swing ride that they took over from Salt Air. It's really kind of intense. And this little small swing ride here, it's all taken apart in this picture. This is one of 2 sort of homemade rides that came in from Idaho. This one is built out of a Model A rear end, and it's had these arms added onto it, and then pedal cars hooked to both of these rides, and they form the actual cars for the ride. These airplane-shaped pedal cars go on the swing ride. Back in the 30s, you could buy a pedal car shaped like an airplane, and the automobiles go on the other ride. Now, both have had their pedals taken off and wooden floors put in them so that they will function as an amusement ride. It takes a good deal of work to get the park ready for the operating season every spring. Having a little amusement park is a good deal of fun, but you know, it's also an awful lot of work. No one ever said that the high art of screwing around came easy.
It's great, this park. It's so nostalgic. I mean, the faces of the kids. I mean, it's just great to be part of this. We recently redid the Ferris wheel, and it's just thinking about all of the happy times, good times of all the people on this Ferris wheel. It's just unbelievable. I mean, when you see the faces of the parents when people are on this and how excited they get when they come up to the window, it's just incredible. We took the Ferris wheel seats and we, instead of buying newer aluminum ones, we bought the old steel ones because we thought that it would maintain the fun and the vibe of all the old people that ran it. And so we took those seats sandblasted, painted them, and restored the whole thing to where it is. And it's really great. It's so fun to ride. It's funny because I came full circle. I mean, it's amazing because when I was 15, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and we had a place named Buddy's, which was a burger joint and a bunch of kiddie rides, carousel, and so forth. So I started there when I was 15, my first job. As a matter of fact, we named this company after that. It's called Buddy's Inc. It's just been great to be. I mean, you're part of such a unique group of people that very few people do. You don't see these parks anymore, and it's just unbelievable to be a part of it.
I started here back in the late 80s. My friend come over to get a job because he wanted to run the train, and he got a job as a conductor on the train, and they were looking for more people to run the train, and so I got a job running the train as a train conductor. I lived right across the street, so I didn't live far away, so we come over quite a bit. I never really thought about getting a job here until I was offered one. It wasn't something I'd ever really thought about, but I've been here ever since though, so I've had a lot of fun doing it. Our next step is going to be restore the carousel. It's a mid-30s Allen Herschel, and we're going to need to do a ground-up restoration on it. It's going to take we're going to probably shut down for a year on this machine. Have to take it all the way down to the bottom and just go through it piece by piece, and so refurbish or replace every piece on it.
I sure hope that deep down inside somewhere, some of these kids are thinking to themselves, this is really cool. I want to have one of these when I grow up. If you don't learn screwing around at a real early age, unfortunately, you may never pick it up. And one of the 6 rides is still rental boats that you can take out onto the lake. No point letting a really good tradition go to waste. The most intense of the rides is the giant swing ride that came from Salt Air. This thing's a little crazy and a little intense, let me tell you. Swing rides are some of the oldest rides that you'll find. They've been around amusement parks for a long, long time. You know, Craig looks like he's having a good time to me. I can't imagine why. Here's a guy that truly has perfected the high art of screwing around. And what better way than to have your own little amusement park and to make a few bucks on it too. Why not? Worked for Walt Disney.
Well, that was incredibly cool, at least in my humble opinion. Well, it's not that humble, but in my opinion, that's really cool. I've always loved this idea of having an amusement park, and how cool is it that Craig has done exactly what I dreamt about when I was a kid, having this little small amusement park. That is a real gas. Well, do pop over to the channel if you haven't been there, and then of course subscribe. There's a link right down here, says Toyman Television. That will take you to the channel and you could subscribe. You'll also find a link there that says Guy's Hobby Shop, and that'll take you to guyshobbyshop.com. And from there you can link to toymantelevision.com, or you could just go to toymantelevision.com, and from there you'll find all kinds of really fun links to the Ratfink store and just all kinds of really cool things. Well, I'm not sure how you found this movie on the internet. I hope you didn't find it boring. and I'll see you here again next Sunday with another fine example of screwing around. I'll see you then. Bye.